South Africa has been on the receiving end of U.S. President Donald Trump's economic and diplomatic actions. I sat down with the country's Deputy Minister for International Relations and Cooperation and discussed that and much more. Thank you very much, Madam Thandi Moraka, the South African Deputy Minister for International Relations and Cooperation. Thank you for making time for us on One-on-One today.
Oh, thank you very much for having us at TRT Media House, and greetings to your viewers wherever they are watching and listening from.
Greetings received on their behalf. Great place to start there. So let's go straight into the firm stance, for instance, that South Africa has taken on the war in Gaza. So based on that, just what role does the government see itself playing in advocating for peace and international justice? Because South Africa has clearly taken the lead on this.
I think what we need to appreciate is that South Africa's foreign policy has always been built on the following principles: the issue of Pan-Africanism, the issue of anti-imperialism, and the respect for the rule of law, and also the whole issue of respecting human rights and also respecting democratic values. And you have seen us, of course, in the Palestinian situation and Israel. We have taken a lead as a country in terms of making sure that we are calling for the self-determination of the Palestinian people, in the sense that we even took the matter to ICJ. Just last year in November, we filed a memorial where the genocide that is continuing in the Gaza Strip needs to be regarded as a genocide, and Israel needs to be told that they need to stop with that kind of an activity, because we are still seeing women and children being displaced. We continue to see several human rights being violated, and I think it is only fair that the rest of the global communities needs to really join South Africa in that call for the peace and security within the Gaza Strip. And we are really saying, once we look at the situation in Palestine, we will never continue to be at comfort in our own space. We echo the same sentiments of our founding father, Nelson Mandela, when he said, South Africa's democracy and freedom will be incomplete without the freedom of the people of Palestine. So that's where we are standing on as South African government, and we'll continue to call on the rest of the world to join us in that global call where we are saying, let there be peace in the Gaza Strip, let there be peace in that Middle East, because we need to always advocate for peace and security and the cessation of hostilities within those conflicting parties.
Indeed. Let's talk about your relationship with the Western side of this world. I'm just curious about how you're maintaining the ties with your Western allies, seeing your close relationship with BRICS, which South Africa is a member of, and that comprises of countries such as Russia and China, and we know the whole relationship. So based on that, how are you actually maintaining the ties with the Western nations?
I think what we need to appreciate is that South Africa continued to participate in several multilateral forums. Your BRICS, as you've already mentioned it, were the first African country to really take up a stand in that multilateral forum of the BRICS countries, and it's only now we are allowing other African countries to join, and we are now calling it BRICS Plus, where we are allowing several countries like your Ethiopia and several of them in the continent to be part and parcel of this strategic multilateral forum. We also participate in the G7 and all these other issues of climate change and the financing part of it. They are also coming sharply from that multilateral forum where South Africa is always taking a lead to say, let there be a mechanism to finance this climate change, because when you look at the countries of the Global South, are not the only ones who are contributing to this devastating effect of climate change. Why, when it comes to issues of resolving the effect of climate change, your multilateral institutions are not at the forefront of helping us as developing economies to overcome those kind of devastating effects of those disaster and the climate effect that we continue to experience. Now with the G20 presidency, it's another step in the right direction for the countries of the global south, including China and India and Brazil as well, because they are also part of the G20, to see how best can we build a more multipolar world as compared to the unipolar world that we continue to see, where the dominance of other countries continue to happen at the expense of others.
Indeed. But I do have a specific question on South Africa's relationship with the United States, especially with the Donald Trump's presidency. We saw him immediately hit on South Africa because of the expropriation bill, and recently he imposed a 30% tariff on South Africa, even though, of course, we do know that he's since paused all that for at least 90 days. What's the present relationship with the United States?
As South Africa, we continue to relate very well with the United States of America at a bilateral level and also at a diplomatic level. We are still pursuing a process where we can find each other, of course, utilizing those diplomatic channels to try to put an end to this misinformation that is currently happening. Where
What's the misinformation?
Is that around the issue of expropriation of land, because in South Africa, given our historical background, you know, majority of South Africans were displaced as a result of apartheid and colonialism. So we are using this kind of regulations to try to address the imbalances of the past. And with that, it doesn't mean that we are going to embark on it recklessly. We are going to implement this expropriation land, of course, for developmental purpose. Let's say in a particular village, we want to build a hospital or a clinic for the public use of those kind of facilities. We'll look at that law which we just passed in Parliament and see how best we can negotiate with the owners of those private properties and see how best we can develop our country for the betterment of our people. So it's not how it is being put now to the US that we are recklessly going to take away land from the previous ownership or those previously advantaged people who got the land because of colonial measures. We are saying we will sit around the table, re-look at the process to evaluate that land and see how best we can negotiate for a settlement for development purpose of the country of South Africa. And we are still saying the President of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, is still pursuing a diplomatic channel to engage with the US on that. The tariffs that are being imposed on us, they are not only affecting South Africa. We are, yes, being hit by a 37% increase of tariffs. The rest of the world is also suffering the same blow. Others are given 10%, others are given 40%. And we are saying this is not an issue of tariffs that affects South Africa only. We have to engage with the US and see how best at a diplomatic level we can strengthen our economic relationship and our bilateral relationship with the United States of America, because South Africa is still a developing country, is still a developing economy. We need those powerhouses to help us to leverage on those opportunities wherein our products can enter into their market, and in that way we can be able to grow our economy and change the lives of our people.
And as we wind up, I want us to talk about the larger Africa security situation. I'm talking about countries like the DRC, Sudan, Mozambique. South Africa is an economic and defense powerhouse. I'm curious about your role in all these conflicts, because this is Africa. Even though South Africa is part of SADC, we are intertwined. Right now, the DRC DRC, there's a joint force of the EAC and the SADC, and I'm aware that also South Africa is part, of course, of the SADC forces, and it's been in the DRC. But what is South Africa's overall role in these conflicts that are destabilizing the African continent?
Like I said, the thrust of our foreign policy is based on the respect for the rule of law, human rights, and the respect for democracy. We are also looking at issues of building peace, stability, and security in the continent.
How are you doing that?
We have been contributing several troops in those kind of countries that you've mentioned. We have done that now in Mozambique. Now Mozambique is stable. We have dealt with those kind of issues in Sudan, and we are now starting to find each other. And now in the DRC, we are a troop contributing country, of course, with Malawi and Tanzania. And I want to take this opportunity and send our heartfelt condolences to those men and women who lost their lives in the forefront of making sure that they continue to fight for peace in the Eastern DRC, where you are seeing women and children being misplaced because of those kind of conflicts that are happening. And also within the SADC Security Council, we are calling for the cessation of hostilities amongst the conflicting countries, and we are saying let there be peace in the continent of Africa. And of course, through the AU, we are also using that AU Security Council to advance for peace, security, in line with the Agenda 2063, where we are trying to build the Africa that we want through African solutions.
Indeed, let there be peace on the African continent. Thank you very much, Madam Thandi Moraka, South African Deputy Minister, International Relations and Cooperation. Thank you for your time and contribution.
Thank you very much for having us, and thanks to your viewers wherever they are watching from.